There is no fucking parallel universe you could tell me where this belongs in the top 10. Tornado of Souls by Megadeth. No. All right, Loudwire, Judgment Day has come. Today we are looking at Loudwire's top 15 guitar solos of all time. Of all time? Yeah, of all time. Now, when I did the Watch Mojo top 10 hardest songs to play on guitar, I had a number of comments being like, well, of course it's a terrible list. It's from Watch Mojo. They're known for being awful. Yeah, and I imagine I'm probably going to have a number of people say, this is Loudwire. Of course they are biased in favor of metal music. Well, okay, but when you make claims such as hardest or greatest of all time, I assume that I'm supposed to take you at your word. And if you say, oh, it's just a clickbait tactic, I understand that. But 2.6 million views and however the hell many that Watch Mojo one got means that there is a lot of people who are watching this who are getting some pretty shitty information who don't know better. Once they stop getting clicks from those videos, then I'll stop reacting to them. Because frankly, they won't be of much use to me anymore. Oh, is Mike admitting that he does reactions to this to get clicks? Abso-fucking-lutely. At least I'll tell you right to your face. Either way, let's see what this click farm has to say about the greatest guitar solos of all time. Okay, one by Metallica at number 15. Now, of all the Metallica solos, I would say this was probably the right pick. The only other songs I would have considered would be Master of Puppets or maybe Enter Sandman, just because it was such a gigantic song that broke metal into the popular sphere. But realistically, if I think about all the people I know who've listened to Metallica or are familiar with Metallica, you usually get people who like are kind of familiar with Master of Puppets, but people always have a visceral reaction when you talk about one and when the solo hits. It is arguably one of the most iconic solo moments and solos in rock history. And yes, to anyone who is making comments on the Watch Mojo video of like, they're putting a bunch of metal songs on the rock guitar list, blah, blah, blah. Metal is a subgenre of rock. If we're going to be inducting Jay-Z into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, then I think metal qualifies as rock too. Moving on. Now, I've seen one higher on greatest solo of all time lists that aren't very metal biased. This list is extremely biased in favor of metal. And if you're going to make a list like this, a large part of the criteria has to be the impact on guitar players and the impact on music culture, generally speaking, not just, hey, what is the coolest solo to listen to or the hardest solo to play and things like that. While those can be factors, then you wouldn't have Comfortably Numb on any list. And even I, a huge critic of people who worship David Gilmour, I would say Comfortably Numb deserves to be on top 10 greatest solos of all time lists. So I think our number one indicator is probably impact. And one has substantially more impact than about half of the solos they put on this list, and they put it at the bottom of the list. A little weird to me. But either way, we'll just say good pick and move on. Judas Priest, Beyond the Realms of Death at number 14. So first things first, I completely forgot that I had actually heard of this song before. I have a live stream that I do Fridays and Saturdays called Song Suggestion Friday, and I believe someone had recommended that song. They suggested the song via Super Chat. I remember the solo being pretty damn good, but not like mind-blowing to me. I can see maybe younger hard rock and metal lovers or people that are just getting into this genre, or even just people who are fans of that older classic sound as opposed to the more modern sound, really liking this solo. But I would say objectively, this has had very little impact on guitar players as a whole. If we're gonna put Judas Priest on here at all, I would say Painkiller is an amazing solo that so many more people have tried to learn, in my personal opinion, from my own anecdotal experiences. If you're going for more of that old hard rock anthemic sound, I think Holy Diver by Dio is an amazing candidate with Vivian Campbell. Or since this song is from 78, if you're going with the origins of metal, hands down, War Pigs by Black Sabbath would take this spot by a long shot. Even still, I would say just that spot in general should be reserved for a solo that has had way more impact than any of the ones that I listed. And that song, Beyond the Realm of Death, least of all. Rising Force by Yngwie. Very surprised to see this one on here, honestly. But I'm happy it's getting some love in general. I feel like Rising Force by Yngwie is one of those solos that does get overlooked if you're not actually an Yngwie fan. Though I don't think this is a great pick either, and again, I think a little bit more evidence of them being biased in favor of metal. If we are going to put Yngwie on this list, which I don't even think he necessarily should be, I think Black Star, Far Beyond the Sun, or Trilogy Suite are far better candidates than Rising Force, mostly because they're a lot more involved, substantially more melodic, even though there is that flashy arpeggio section in the beginning of Rising Force. You get that and far more with the three that I listed. If we're including guitar virtuosos on the list, I would say instead of Yngwie, you include Steve Vai or Joe Satriani, who have had a more profound impact on the wider guitar community. With Steve Vai, either For the Love of God or Tender Surrender, both iconic and extremely well known. And with Joe Satriani, either Surfing with the Alien or, personally for my taste, Satch Boogie. Satch Boogie is such a freaking great song, dude. I hear people talk a lot about Joe Satriani, and it makes me sad that since my teenage years, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about Satch Boogie, and it's such a wildly awesome song. But in general, I still don't think any of those songs that I listed would do as good of a job as some other solos, which we'll come back to at the end of this. I don't get this pick at all. I really don't, man. I mean, of all the Iron Maiden solos, that's one of the least interesting ones to me. I think I've said this before. Aces High is a cool song, but I don't get why so many people like it so much. It feels like the harmonic movement is so awkward and never really has a satisfying conclusion. And these solos really are no different to me. They're not bad solos by any means. I think they fit the composition well. I just feel like the overall composition just doesn't lend itself. Again, if we're going by impact, I would say either Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, or more specifically for the solo, The Trooper. The Trooper, I think, is the one, not Aces High. The Trooper, so many more people know and love The Trooper than Aces High. Guaranteed. Not only that, but I feel like I want to fucking fight to the death by the time I'm done listening to The Trooper. After Aces High, I feel like I want to sit down and analyze the harmony, so I'm supposed to know what the fuck I just listened to. And by the way, I don't think Iron Maiden should be in a top 15 guitar solos of all time list. I mean, they have some great solos. They're not top 15 of all time. I could see one of the songs that I listed in the top 50, not top 10, not top 15. Full disclosure, I love the shit out of Iron Maiden, while also acknowledging how pretty formulaic some of the writing is. So far, the top 4 of the greatest guitar solos of all time list all fit very smoothly and firmly into the metal category. This is what I mean by there being a pretty heavy metal bias, and you're gonna see more of it coming up. That is a tasty lick, though, for real. I do love that lick. All right, Deep Purple Highway Star. I can see why they put it on the list, though I do not necessarily agree myself. I think it fits better in the top 25, definitely in the top 50. Top 15, not so sure. It does have a very big influence in the guitar realm. As far as in the casual listener realm, I wouldn't say quite as much, though it has made some reach into that area. Just Highway Star in general, I don't care that much for the song, even though the solo is great, hands down the best part of the song, and it's a lot of fun to listen to. And for the time, quite groundbreaking. Like, no one was doing stuff like that at the time, or very few people were. But I still don't know if it's top 15 or not. Maybe someone could make an argument that could convince me, but I'm leaning towards no right now. All right, I agree with Cream Crossroads being on here. This is one of the worst fucking renditions of this solo I've ever heard. It's so fucking trash. I'm sorry. This is why when people put Eric Clapton as the top 5 greatest guitarists of all time, I'm like, by what fucking metric? Sure as hell ain't timing. That's for damn sure. Dear God. The original Crossroads solo that's on the record that like everyone knows is fucking awesome. It's shred-tastic. Again, for the time, no one was doing what he was doing. It's badass as hell and belongs in the top 10 or top 15 at least. That solo that we just heard there was fucking pathetic in comparison. I don't give a shit who thinks otherwise. It's a fucking fact. Crossroads bridged blues and rock really well and expanded into a more virtuoso idea of what it meant to play guitar. And that was very important. There is no fucking parallel universe you could tell me where this belongs in the top 10. Tornado of Souls by Megadeth? No. With how much metalheads fapped their fucking asses off to Megadeth in general, it gets annoying after a while. Like, I get it. This is a great fucking guitar solo, probably the best Megadeth guitar solo there is. Marty Friedman's a fucking monster. Dave writes some great riffs, even though he can't sing to save his goddamn life. But there are far more important guitar solos to music history at large than Tornado of Souls. It's a cool solo. I like it a lot. But not top 10. If you needed more evidence that Loudwire is gobbling the metal cock just deep, so far down the throat, you're starting to scrape the lining of the stomach, that would be it. Floods by Pantera at number 8. While I'm really happy that they included this in any way to highlight the song, because I feel like this solo and this song in general are so underappreciated. This song does not belong in a top 10 solos list or even a top 15 solos list, in my opinion. Top 25, arguably. Top 50, definitely. In top 50 and top 100 guitar solos lists, this song shows up more often, especially with Pantera and Dimebag Darrell being so iconic as a lead player and riff writer. This is the one that always comes up one way or the other. It just really makes you think, man, it's that good. Yet, weirdly enough, it seems like not that many people know it. I would like to be one to promote the greatness of this solo and this song to the point where it deserves to be in a top 15 list. And also, there is no fucking way in hell that you are convincing me that one is a less influential solo than Floods by Pantera, or that one is a less influential solo than any of the other solos that we've seen on this list thus far. That's why, like, putting it at 15, I'm like, what in the fuck is your criteria, dude? Okay, except for Cream, except for Crossroads by Cream. I will take that one back. Also, the one thing that really sucks, Loudwire, because copyright on YouTube really sucks a mega dick. They have to use these live clips and they're basically stuck with the clips that they can find, right? And they have to get these really shitty live versions of these iconic and amazing solos. Again, I don't blame them at all. They're doing what they gotta do. I get it. Trust me, I understand. But it sucks that the representative for Floods is this just totally shitty, mega thin, played a little bit awkwardly because it's live rendition, or that the Crossroads solo is just old, farty, flabby Eric Clapton basically just taking a shit on his strings. It's fucking depressing, man. That harmonizer's really cool, though. Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine. I don't know that I would put it necessarily at number 7. I could see that in the top 15. One of the few guitar solos in the world that once you hear it, it's like, that's the sound of rock and roll. It's so rare that anyone can write that, let alone that someone can cement it so hard in so many people's minds. Accessible music and popular music today has been so reduced in actual musical value. You can have something that actually has some beautiful flavor and expression to it, like this solo that's very well written, that has more virtuosic nature than almost any of the music on the radio today, that people still remember note for fucking note, even if they don't play an instrument. That's massive. Mr. Crowley by Ozzy Osbourne. Man. So as much as I would like it to be on this list in the top 15, I don't think it does. I think it reaches like top 50. I think you have to replace that with Crazy Train if you're going to go top 15. Like, that song blew the doors wide open for metal. If Ozzy Osbourne is going to be in a top 15 guitar solos, and we're going to be using Randy Rhoads, obviously, then you have to pick Crazy Train because of the impact. Even though I think Mr. Crowley is a better solo. It's so damn tasty and melodic, and you get so many flourishes of notes that are just gorgeous, and the chord progression is perfect for the mood. Just, oh man, so many great things. But alas, I don't think it should be on this list. And Randy was such a fucking monster, man. Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. I remember specifically being a kid and seeing a number of top greatest guitar solos of all time and seeing this in the top 10. It's a cool song, but like, how does that even qualify as a solo? Blah, 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 blah. Back when I thought guitar solo has to be shred or it's just lame and stupid. For how iconic and absolutely fucking perfect that lead line is, I'd say that belongs to be in the top 5. I could see that. Making such a perfect lead part for a song that requires perfection if you're going to be this self-indulgent with the composition. Well done. Really, truly well done. Even with Loudwire deep-throating the metal dick so far, they're pooping it out. They have to admit, Bohemian Rhapsody, top 5. By the way, for anyone who missed it on my social media, I did a little rendition of this on Instagram. You should go check it out. Go follow me on my socials, you frickin' plebs. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Become the Night. Do it. Okay, including Jimi Hendrix, obviously a no-brainer. I don't know that I would have picked Voodoo Child personally. To me, All Along the Watchtower seemed like the very natural choice. I know it's not an original of his. He's covering a Bob Dylan song, but man, just everything about that song, including all of the different lead and solo work, is just so magical. I mean, Voodoo Child has a lot of attitude in its solos, and you see him getting, I guess for lack of a better term, experimental with his articulation and note choices. But as far as something that lasts the tests of time and doesn't have the acid psychedelic phase that kind of loses its connection to now, I would say All Along the Watchtower beats it out by a good mile. Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, that's a no-brainer. If that wasn't on the list, that would have been a very serious oversight. Also, if you want proof that Jimmy Page really is not that good of a guitar player, just listen to this really quick. His timing is off, his bends suck, his tone is okay, his phrasing choices are amateurish at best. You say, oh, we're just capturing that moment in time. It's like, okay, maybe I am just capturing that moment in time. In what world would you say it's a better idea to improvise the most iconic solo of all time than it is to play it note for note if you're capable of playing it note for note? Highly influential, all day. Technical prowess, suck my dick. And another example of the audience having to suffer due to the YouTube copyright system not letting us get the actual good version of that solo. All right, like I said, I'm a massive critic of people who just cock gobble David Gilmour's dick all day. Trust me, I don't understand it. I understand this solo. This being in the top 5, even maybe the number 2 spot, makes total sense. Fully support it. Number 1, Eruption. Okay, so again, I think that there is a metal bias here, which is why you see Eddie Van Halen's Eruption at number 1 instead of, say, Stairway to Heaven or maybe even a Jimi Hendrix solo. But even still, I think there really is an argument to be made that Eruption by Eddie Van Halen may be the most important guitar solo to guitar. I don't know if it is or not, but I think there's a good argument to be made there. For what Eddie did for the instrument and blowing open guitar players' imaginations at that point, with that sound, with that performance, with those techniques, it's unspeakable. The only other guy you could say maybe belongs there, I would say, is probably Hendrix. All in all, I would say you could rearrange the top 5 and I wouldn't be upset about it. The top 5 on this list are solid. The bottom 10, not quite so much. So I already told you which ones I don't think belong on the list. Here are ones that I would replace those with, and a brief reasoning as to why. I would put Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of Little Wing in the top 15. It's a live moment in time that we are so blessed to have captured, to be able to play over and over again for our enjoyment. He almost took the blues that Hendrix had, that he accentuated with rock, and Stevie Ray Vaughan accentuated that blues rock with more blues and this really beautifully clean tone, a beautifully round tone. It makes you stop. It makes you completely stop and just pay all of your attention on it. It's got to be in there for me. B.B. King, The Thrill Is Gone. If there is one B.B. King solo that has captured everyone, I would say it's this one, as simple and beautiful as it is. B.B. King is a massive influence on blues guitarists, plain and simple. Him not being in a top 15 list, I think might be a crime. Chuck Berry, Johnny Be Good should be in a top 15 list. It is the invention of rock and roll, essentially. The reinvention of what could be done on the guitar and the reinvention of what a guitar solo meant. All right, trigger warning to everyone. You ready for this? AC/DC Back in Black. I am not a huge proponent of AC/DC by any means. And I would still say this deserves a shot at the top 15. It's another one of those instances like Sweet Child of Mine, where you hear that song, and then when you hear Angus Young come in with that solo, it is the defining sound of what it means to be rock and roll. It's like rock finally came into its mature, quote unquote, maturity. I mean, very immature songs lyrically, but the huge punch of the sound and the beautiful guitar tone from Angus Young, absolutely gorgeous. And a very lyrical solo that shows off some technique and virtuosity, but not a ton. And really honestly just speaks. Freebird by Leonard Skinner. I don't know if there was ever a 3-guitar solo, like 3 guitars at once solo ever done before, let alone one that was so fucking long. That was a hell of an accomplishment and breaking away with convention for the time. There's a reason why everyone yells Freebird at a show besides the fact that they're a bunch of fucking idiots. It's because that song and that solo are so damn iconic. So iconic. Groundbreaking. It deserves to be in a top 15 list. Hotel California by the Eagles. Another instance similarly to Sweet Child of Mine, where you have people who don't listen to guitar music or virtuosic music. They know every note of that solo. If you perform that solo live, they'll know when you missed a note. Guaranteed. Such an absolutely gorgeous melody. Again, very lyrical type of solo. And spoke to so many different genres. I don't like the Eagles at all, and I fucking love that song, and that is an amazing solo. I've learned that solo to teach myself better articulation and better phrasing. And then, of course, like I said, replace Jimmy's with All Along the Watchtower, replace Ozzy's with Crazy Train. I think I could live with that list. So this isn't the worst top 15 guitar solos of all time I've ever seen, though it is extremely biased in favor of metal. And if you made it a top 15 metal or hard rock solos of all time, that looks more accurate to me, although you'd have to change the classic rock ones most likely. So what do you guys think of the list? What do you guys think of my picks that I think should substitute for theirs? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, if you like this channel and what I do, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit the like button. Leaving comments apparently is super fucking important and I don't know why, but do all those things. That'd be great. If you support me on Subscribestar, you directly support the channel and help me keep making badass videos for you. And you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Become the Knight. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next video. Rock on.